Can we do that in a way where we don't have to be pushed to the point of clinical depression from being so out of balance with our natural state of being? We're faced with life and death every single day.
For a long time, if you would have told me, who am I? I'm a surgeon. But that's fucked up to just think all that defines me is go out and work for a hospital.
I tend to absorb everything in the room. And so I am a person who needs to go outside and put my feet in the grass. I need to clear my energy field. I literally have a Palo Santo stick and I'm just like, woo.
Definitely, if you don't have kids, take fucking risks. 100%. Even if you do, if your intuition is telling you this is wrong, I want to do something else, just be open to it because life presents you opportunities.
Two vascular surgeons walk into a bar and come out with a podcast. We are talking everything vascular and not. Welcome to the Life of Flow podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Life of Flow podcast. And today we have Dr. Priya Kothapalli. Priya is a quadruple certified interventional cardiologist focusing on interventional structural heart and coronary disease. And on the side, she decided to found the Open Heart podcast, merging medicine with humanity. We'll listen to her amazing story and learn something. Vamos. Priya, welcome to the Life of Flow podcast.
It is an honor to be here. It's also so funny to me because we've known each other for many years in a very different capacity.
Yeah. Let's go back to when we met up to talk about podcasting,
Can we actually go way further back? You actually didn't know this, but I used to be afraid of you when I was a fellow.
Why?
Because, you're the vascular surgeon. You're there in the lab, like, doing all this stuff. And, like, can I get access? And I was just like, I need to stay out of this guy's way.
Did I look like mean?
I think it was just more like you have a confidence about you that can be intimidating if, that's the thing. Like, you never know what another person is like until you get to know them.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was very closed off and I was like, oh, yeah, like this person is definitely unapproachable. He's very confident. He's got his own thing going on. Stay away.
Well.
But now I know differently.
Yeah. Well, that's so great. Like, being aware of, because you have this idea of how you project yourself in the world. And for me, it's been my experience for myself that it's completely disconnected from reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've always thought, oh, I'm so easygoing, I'm Latin, I'm relaxed, whatever. But I feel like a lot of people think I'm a dick.
Well, it's okay.
Which I can be sometimes, for sure.
It's the stereotypes that we build and like the surgeons, right? Like I think surgeons hold a certain aura and like, I don't know, it's really interesting because once you really get to know people, you realize like we're so much more similar than we are different.
100%.
But anyway.
So tell our audience, who is Priya Kothapalli? What's your background? How'd you get to be an interventional cardiologist? Who are you?
Priya is a butterfly in the world. Like my purpose is literally to feel my way into serving humanity, whatever capacity that is. And if you asked me that question even 2-3 years ago, I would have told you, Priya, I'm an interventional cardiologist. I'm trained in structural. These are my clinical interests. These are my research areas. And I love that experience so much, but I have had experiences in medicine that have led to an awareness or degree of consciousness where it's like we're so much more than just one identity. And it's so important to embrace those gifts. And so now I've branched into the media world. I branched into podcasting. And I realized that every act of compassion or service for humanity is the exact same, whether that's a STEMI or creating a docuseries that makes people feel something that then shifts culture or creates societal change. It's all the same. So I don't really know how to answer that question other than I'm a butterfly. But I want to ask you that question right back to you.
Ooh. Who am I? To be honest, I don't know fully. I was talking to some friends. We're here. There are a bunch of people outside and some of my favorite people in Austin. And, I've quit my job and I'm discovering what I want to do going forward. And the fact of, it's now February. I've been without a job for a month. I plan to do nothing for the month of February. And I find myself with anxiety about not doing something because I for a long time, if you would have told me, who am I? I'm a surgeon. That's it. But that's fucked up to just think like all that defines me is that I go out and work for a hospital. That's fucked up. Even though, you know, treating patients is a very noble thing to do and the act is great, but there's more to us. So right now, I don't know 100%. I know that what I want to do is just create. So be that create definitely my own clinical environment, be that, an OBL, like an own clinic, be it, I feel strongly about, I feel strongly that this, like, what's wrong with medicine is big organized medicine. I feel strongly that if we had more independent physicians, each person with the liberty to find solutions to their problems, we would have way better solutions than centralized solutions that academia and big hospital systems provide the opportunity for. So through this little passion project, I hopefully I we influence some of that. And then yeah, from that just experimenting and seeing what we I can build and help build and collaborate with other people to build and have fun.
I
Yeah.
love that because you're such a layered and multidimensional person.
Well, thank you.
You really are, and it's like when I first knew of you back in fellowship, I would never have known that about you, and I think it's so brave when people are able to put the mask down
Yeah.
and actually say, "Hey, I'm a real person in the world. This is my life experience." And you have no idea how many people you inspire just by saying what you just said. And even for me, like when I reconnected with you many years later, it was like I went through a spiritual awakening and this happened and that happened, this synchronicity and blah, blah, blah. And I only shared that because you were so open and vulnerable in sharing what happened in your life. And we're not that different.
Yeah. No, and I think that one of the things that I strive for as a goal in my life is just to be my authentic self. And my authentic self is weird as fuck.
I'm goofy, like, I
Yeah.
didn't know that either, like
Yeah.
yeah.
My authentic self is super weird, and it's not this persona that you were intimidated by. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But you take on that persona for whatever reason.
Why do we do that? Is it because we feel like we have to prove something in medicine? Because that was why I was the way that I was.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. My parents taught me to be, you know, what I learned was to kind of conform, in a sense. Like extreme authenticity in growing up in Puerto Rico was not something that was encouraged. And yeah, all of us are really authentic individuals, but we kind of learn through society to conform to something. And then you decide that for me, I saw this surgery and it was just like it was like I remember it was like an infection of the proximal anastomosis of a cabbage in the aorta, and the aorta was like completely nothing. And the guy opened the chest, blood came out everywhere, and he goes into cardiac arrest, patches the aorta pericardium, and like gets the guy out alive. And I'm like, fuck, that's what I want to do. But then,
Most people would have been like, blood, no.
yeah, no, when the guy opened the chest and just like gush of blood came out and he was like calm as a cucumber and just like and I'm like that's what I want to do. And and yes, that's amazing, but then to do that, then it's like we were talking to another guest, to Joel. It's like they train you to be a psychopath. I think surgical training just in my maybe it's just my experience, but I became super individualistic, super self-centered because it's this weird mixture of like I remember one program director said this thing. It's like there's the chance of you guys matching here is like one and I don't know how much. That's less than like being hit by lightning. The message was like you're so special, right? And some of that gets you reinforce that, people around you reinforce that, but then at the same time, you never do anything that's good enough because it's always like 110% that needs to be given, and it's unrealistic. And
And they expect superhuman things from us, right? I think anyone who's living in this physical body needs sleep, needs food,
yeah.
needs movement, needs sunlight. I mean, we're literally wired to need these things, and we're told that none of those things are acceptable for years, like for decades.
Yeah. Although I think my personal opinion is that it's like the hero's journey, right? You're lost in the forest, you're struggling. I think that's kind of necessary.
Okay, tell
Yeah.
me more, because I love it when people have a different perspective. Because I see it from the perspective of like, man, could I have had a healthier and more balanced experience and still ended up with the level of skill that I have?
I think that there is some degree of transcendence in your human experience. And that's why all these stories exist, right? As above, so below. Like, that's why all these hero stories exist. The hero needs to go suffer to then conquer the dragon, climb the mountain, and then come out on the other side with perspective, right? So do, I don't regret it. When you talk, when I went in interviews, I talked to a lot of people that train with the and that was insane.
Yeah.
That was literally insane, but they tell the stories with such happiness of pure torture, literally pure torture. But then I think that you go through that, you test your limits, you find your edge. I think that, especially from a masculine male perspective, I think that being in contact with our edges is very important as far as like a relationship with risk, and we can go all through that. But anyways, you come to your edges and then you go through that. I was literally depressed in fellowship.
I was depressed.
Depressed. Would I but I wouldn't change it. And then I think then you come out on the other side and then you gain perspective. You went through that. You have all the skills. You're not afraid of anything. You can open that chest and have that blood come out and be cool. But then you kind of discover other parts of your humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can we do that in a way where we don't have to be pushed to the point of clinical depression from being so out of balance with our natural state of being? Like, that's my question. I don't know, because, the things that we're doing are not normal human experiences, right? Like, we're faced with life and death every single day.
Yeah. I mean, ideally not to the point of depression or medications or anything, but I do feel like it gets to be something. It's not for everyone.
It's not.
It's not for everyone, and it shouldn't be for everyone. And it's not, I don't think it's good that we try to make it for everyone. It's hard because there's nothing that is going to make you question yourself more than when you make a mistake that hurt someone.
And we
And
will
that's
all make mistakes. It happens to
and
every single one of us.
it happens to absolutely everyone. And if like again, these things are known. Like if there's this old saying in surgery, if you're not having complications, it's because you're not operating. Because if you go and you push and you do things and you go into extreme situations, you know, sometimes it won't go your way. So there's nothing that is more difficult than that. So what prepares you for that? Going through that beforehand and having and being in a community, even if it's not the most healthy community, where everyone's in the same boat and you know that you're all going that through together.
I actually agree with that. I think like healthy pressure is really important, because you don't want the first time you're stressed out to be during a split second life and death decision with somebody else on the table with no support around you. But I do wonder, like, can we help people get through that process a little bit better? Because athletes have mental coaches.
Yeah.
They have all these resources to help them recover, like literally physical recovery from standing at a table wearing lead, like
Mhm.
bent over, like all these things. Like, I think there are ways to make it better, but I think we haven't learned to advocate for ourselves. And we talk about this all the time, where I think people in healthcare, especially physicians, are trained not to use their voice.
Yeah.
You can't tell your opinions. You can't, actually say what you're thinking. You can't actually be the person that you are, because it's not going to fit into the mold of what is expected. But I think we have that authentic part of who we are for a reason. I think we all have different ideas, different opinions, different things that we enjoy, like who we are in the world for a very specific reason. And when we suppress them, are we really living our fullest human experience? And are we helping to the fullest extent that we can?
No, obviously not. The answer to that is no. But also, like in your 20s, like how many people know who they are authentically?
Even in your
It's
30s, right?
and even
Like,
in your early 30s, yeah, you're discovering that. So at that, yeah, I agree. I 100% agree that there is a better way, but I also think that there is a benefit to suffering. There is a benefit to experience suffering. Because if you don't experience it, then how do you know what the opposite is? And then how do you know how much to push yourself? Um,
and that's true. I think, like,
yeah,
sometimes it's really easy to focus on, like, I want the good experiences, and that's, like, in the spiritual world, it's spiritual bypassing when you don't wanna experience any of the heavier, dense emotions, but you want only the positive, uplifting, connected, whatever. And I think it's the same thing in, like, physical world, medicine, where we want, like, all the highs. We want to be the one that, like, saved the life. We did the crazy case. We did all the things, but we don't necessarily want to deal with the difficult parts that make it, one, shape us into who we are. And, sometimes also acknowledging that our role involves those harder moments.
yeah,
I think, there is very much an element of like finding a balance in those spaces.
yeah. And it's I don't know. Me personally, I find it interesting to go to the uncomfortable places. Like the other day,
Can we just send you for us? Like, can you just do that for me?
because then you realize what's really real and what you really want. Like the other day, I've been had in my mind to fast. I wanted to do like a 24-hour fast for the longest time. Read all the data about it, all the health benefits. All these cultures integrate fasting into some part, usually through religion, into their day-to-day lives. But it's because of there's a reason for it. It's not just I think there is something to that, and I've always thought it. So I went and did a fast, and I did. A friend of mine was doing a 72-hour fast. I did a 56-hour fast, and going there and feeling the uncomfortable feeling, discovering that that my body really didn't want food. At one point, your body doesn't want food; it's your mind that wants food, and then just battling with your mind and with that anxiety again that it gives you to eat, it just allows you to discover someplace else where you can go. And now I know, okay, I can go 3 days without eating, and I can control my mind and I can try it. So anyway, that's just a stupid example or a
It's
trivial
actually
example.
not a stupid
Yeah,
example at all, and I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this on here, but I have a friend, and I went to yoga teacher training when I quit my job. I was like, "Let me seek and figure out what is going on in this place." And I met a friend who's now a very close friend of mine, who's done a lot of plant medicine.
yeah,
And prior to doing something like ayahuasca, there's always a preparation period
mhm,
where you have to follow a certain diet,
yeah,
do certain practices or refrain from certain things. And she's in that process right now. And I talked to her yesterday leaving clinic, and she was telling me on this particular, fasting or cleanse that she's doing, her body feels so much shifting that she's in a state of full surrender. She's like, I can't control anything around me. Like, I'm literally, I don't have like the physical will to control things around me. And I'm here to just go with the flow this time. And she's like, I think this is probably why we do this cleanse. And I was like, very interesting,
yeah.
because I think sometimes the things that we do, they show us that, there is more than what we have right here in front of us. There's more than just stuff that we can touch or prove. So I'm super interested in all that.
Yeah, I one thing that I experienced, I was able to be more present, while fasting because you're battling your mind for the first day and a half, and then through that exercise, you kind of come to a place where you're like, okay, not looking at your phone, you're just playing with your dog, or just like having a conversation with your partner, or just like going on a walk, and you're able to just be present, be centered, be super happy. like that, this calm happiness about it. I was like, oh, I get it. This is why people do this. It makes sense. And then you feel good. You lose weight. You lose that little bit of that belly fat. All positives. uh, so yeah, tell me. Okay, yeah, tell me your story. You ended fellowship, and then what happened?
I was like the poster child for everything in medicine
Everyone
because
loved you.
really, oh
Everyone
my
was like,
gosh.
Priya's the best. Yeah. You were the golden child for sure.
Well,
Yeah.
it was because I was living from a place of pure performance.
Yeah.
I learned that safety meant doing everything perfectly and keeping everyone around you happy. So I can literally sense what's happening in the room and shift myself to fit what's needed. So I was constantly shapeshifting, completely out of touch with myself, who I am,
Yeah.
but doing amazing work. Like I loved showing up in the cath lab. I loved taking care of STEMI patients. I love doing heart valve replacements and people who are like, wow, I have my life back.
Yeah.
Those things are amazing. And then I went out into the clinical practice world and I took a job where, it was a little bit of a challenging environment. It was my first time realizing how disempowered physicians can be in the healthcare ecosystem. And for me, it was a lot of moral injury where I didn't want to do certain things or I didn't want to practice in a certain way. And I realized that I could not be complicit with those expectations.
Yeah.
And it was really hard for me, the person who always just went with everything I'm supposed to do, to then say, like, I'm quitting this job with no plan. And I did it because I felt like there was no other choice but to do it. And it also came through a series of like synchronicities. And, I think when something is in alignment with your path, you're guided down that path and it's up to you to say yes. And for whatever reason, I was just like, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
And so that started this whole entire evolution of yoga teacher training,
Wait,
seeking
how many years, months after starting your new job?
less than a year,
Less than
which
a
is
year.
like, that's the red flag on people's CVs. They see that and they're
Yeah.
like, what
A
is
hundred
wrong with
percent.
that person?
Yeah.
And
100%.
I remember calling my mentor in Austin here, and he knows me so well. And so I think, having that support, even if someone who knows you really well, who's very established and credible in his own career, just being a sounding board, that was helpful. But I never thought I'd be in that position. And like, here I am trying to figure it out. And my entire worldview is shattering. Everything I thought I was going away. And so I later learned in the spiritual world, they call that the dark night of the soul. So I'm like sitting there and it's a real thing. It's like totally a thing.
100%.
And I'm like sitting there and I have multiple experiences where I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm expanding. And finally, I realized that I have to know who I am and I have to flow in alignment with my deeper path and purpose. Everything I tried to force to work after that point just doesn't work. It just falls away. And I realized I'm not made for a traditional role. As much as that hurts my ego to not be the perfect child of, the program. But I meant to do it differently, and I started exploring that path and saying yes when things came easily. And so right now, I actually go to communities where they need help in underserved areas, and I cover, STEMIs or heart attacks for a couple weeks at a time. I'll help out whenever it's needed, but I have put a lot of my energy and effort into other ventures, including founding a media company.
Yeah. That's
It's been very interesting. Like, and I'm sure you can relate to some of that.
yeah, for me it was the yeah, I like the same thing. Like you come out. For me it was like you come out and you're like, okay, I want to go into academics. Like for me it was like, okay, that's the thing to do. That's the difficult thing to do. I've always been attracted to like what's the most difficult thing I can do.
Yeah.
And that's a very ego
What's
driven
the most
conversation.
prestigious thing I can do?
Yeah, what's the thing that will feed my ego the most and disconnect me most from my true purpose? So I've always kind of been drawn into that. So that's what I did. And then I was here and then I just felt this low level lack of happiness. And at one point I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I have no intention of doing like a bunch of research and doing that. I have no intention of like when I saw what it was to be a division chief, I'm like, who the fuck wants to do that? Dealing like with like, you know, hospital administration that, it's I found a lot of the times to be misaligned. I'm sure there's some that are aligned with how we do things, how we should do things, but I found a lot of misalignment, and just dealing with that to just get crumbs of the idea of how you think things should be run. I was like, okay, I don't want to do that either. So what the fuck do I do? Um, and this started out of like I get ideas when I go running, and when I went running, I just kept having this idea, and just Miguel, we have to do this. Um, and we did this, and then this exposed me to people that were doing things differently. And through doing this and hearing all these people doing really cool stuff, being brave and risking, because I feel like even though we do risky things when we're operating, like you can call operating like or into doing a STEMI like a risky thing. It really isn't, because eventually, if you know you dominate something, then there's really not that much risk in it. And then I found, okay, like, oh, this going out of the norm and doing something that feels risky.
So when being who you are is scarier than doing a vascular surgery,
Yeah,
that's wild.
that's wild. Yeah,
It's the same thing for me though.
yeah, exactly. So, and then being exposed, and then I saw, okay, there are people that are actually doing this, and how do I want to create something in the world? Um, and then I like to do weird stuff. So I went to this emotional intelligence, called an emotional intelligence training here in Austin, because I went to Burning Man, and I think I've told this story before. People might get tired of it, but I went to Burning Man. I went to the camp. Everyone was amazing. They're all like super successful, but super good humans. And then I was just like, whoa, who are these people? Uh, and one of them mentioned, oh, I did this training and it was amazing. And that person had like exited like an attorney's firm that he founded. And I was like, well, okay, this guy, I respect, I was like, oh, this guy has done stuff in the world. And then I came back, and a friend of mine had done it too and started his own company. I was like, okay, let me go do it. And then when I did it, there was this exercise that was meant to draw up like from your subconscious what you really wanted to do. And from that came just like something to basically stop what I was doing and do something else. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. And through that have come like amazing things. And right now I'm figuring it out, but it's exciting. Uh, there's all these opportunities that are coming up, and I'm like, why did I not do this years ago?
Well, you said something really valuable there where it's like your subconscious, like deep inside, you've always had the answer. And I think we have these life experiences where we somehow become disconnected from that deeper inner knowing because we have to be able to get to that next point.
Yeah.
But when it's the right time, you will be redirected in such a way that you look inward. And we use different tools. Some people use different, therapeutic techniques. Some people will use like whatever you're called to.
Yeah.
And I think once you connect with that, you can't unsee it. Like you cannot unconnect with it or disconnect, I guess is the proper word. But I think like once you get to that point though, it's almost like you're just in a state of alignment and flow, but there's a lot of free will. Like you get to choose what you do. And I think you've made some really amazing, bold choices that hopefully will ripple into helping a ton of people. And I think that's what you're doing.
I hope so. I mean, I think that's what all of us really want to help other humans.
I think so.
That's literally, I think, deep down inside, we all want to help other humans. It's just through different ways. Uh, it's because if you really dig down and have like well, I want to do this and this. Why? Because that. Why? Oh, because I want to help people do this. And it ultimately a lot of the times comes down to that. I don't know if that's the best path for success.
What is success though? Can you define
Yeah.
success? I'm
Oh,
curious.
whatever. So I think success. I was talking to a friend, really smart business guy, and he bought a plot of land out in Bastrop. And this guy just has done, but yeah, his family's done business. He's like, he just went to China and then found some manufacturers and then found some really cheap housing and then just like bought these houses, and then people just come and they rent it out and they contribute something. And he was talking, I was like, why are you doing that? Like, you have these other businesses, why are you diverting your energy to that? And he's like, what? He's like, why are you doing what you're doing? And he's like, well, because I want to do this. And why? Well, because I want to do that, have this. And like, why? Well, because I want to, it comes down to safety. It comes down to like, when I'm old, I want people around me that have, I want to be able to take care of myself, do all these things, have a family that takes care of me, have this community. He's like, well, I'm just bypassing that. I'm creating this community. People are going to live here. We'll all take care of each other. And I don't know if it's going to work. Uh, but success at the end of the day, I think for me is like being old with a loving family, uh, being a mentor, and having created something that I'm proud of. That's it.
So none of that has to do with what's in the bank, right?
No, what's in the bank has to do with like safety, and when you're all being able to pay for like the nurse that comes helps you out, or like being able to have a place for your family where people can help you. I think that money in the bank is that security. I think it's also ego, right? It's also if you have that ego conversation of like, well, I put my flag here and planted my flag. This is what I created, but I think that's kind of empty. And
And I agree
yeah,
with you. I think we were born into this world to experience all of the physical reality, and some of that is the material comforts of life. Like, I'm the first person to love like a nice luxury, whatever,
oh
right?
my God, that's why we're here. That's why we're in this fucking
It's like
beautiful
the nice
house.
and furries.
Exactly, this fur. I don't like any material things as I stroke the fur.
No, but I think that's such a valuable thing that I'm starting to learn as well, where I started looking at everything as an exchange of energy, whether that is the 2 a.m. STEMI, the creative work that goes into putting out a message that will shift humanity in a meaningful way. Anything that we do, money is a reciprocal exchange of energy and it ebbs and flows. And so once I started looking at it like that, it was like you shouldn't really like become too attached or too averse to anything. It's just part of being
Yeah,
human.
yeah, and like again, also who knows? Like also like who knows
If money
what's
loses its
real?
value, like would people live the same way? I ask that question all the time.
If money loses its value, well, I think that you know, I think there are like biological and societal, like how we structure society, I think gives money its power. Like, if and this is not something I'm coming up with, but again, there's this podcast called Predictive History. Everyone should listen to it. It's pretty cool. Uh, and the guy that does it came out, explained how people lived in agricultural societies, like nomadic societies, and you know, he probably didn't come up with it either, but like when we went from nomadic to agricultural, then you start accumulating things, and then money has its power over when you're like roaming around, hunting for shit. Then why do you need money, right? You need food and shelter. That's it.
I sit with that question a lot because I come from a family of farmers in India. You know, material safety meant having a family and having a roof over your head and having food from your farm, but it wasn't necessarily in the form of dollars or cash or rupees, whatever it was. And so much changes in one generation. And now I'm the most heavily educated woman in my entire family. And I have access to things that my, 2 generations ago, they couldn't even imagine. And so success for me, I've really had to sit with this question because I thought it was getting the degrees, having the job, having the life that was really good on paper. But now it is following a path that feels most in alignment, where it feels expansive, even if it's challenging, even if there are things on the way that feel, difficult, I still want to stay on that path to achieve my highest potential in this lifetime. And I know my purpose is tied to feeling my way through life. There's a reason that or I feel so deeply. And I think everyone has their own like little gift. And I think, just going with that without fighting it so much and really returning to like the core of who you are. And I'm a creative and I want to create, humanitarian work that is in the form of a docuseries or
Mhm.
creative, things that can shift the way that people look at problems and find solutions in the world. And so I think success has really changed for me, and that may change even further, but alignment and whatever form that takes in whatever time period of my life. But it's really cool to be able to sit with that question.
Yeah, my grandfather. So one of my biggest mentors and people that had the most influence in my life was my grandfather. My grandfather went, his highest level of education was third grade. He had a genetic deformity where he was very short and had like a humpback, but lived the craziest life. Like, grew up in the mountains of Puerto Rico, one of like 15, moved to New York City with his brother, worked without knowing any English, worked in a factory, made enough money, came back to Puerto Rico. I think he traveled to Mexico for a little bit too. I don't know how. Came back to Puerto Rico, bought a farm, raised cattle. Uh, also was into weird esoteric things, he somehow was into Rosicrucianism, which comes from like Egyptian mystery schools. And I find that fascinating that in this little mountain in Puerto Rico, somehow he found his way into this esoteric things and used to do these experiments with his mind too. I found myself being interested in that too. Anyways, raised a family, uh, a really cohesive family, and have all this love and all this support. And for me, that's success. Truly, like what I want in life, I want to live a weird, crazy life, have amazing, crazy experiences, and then be supported by a family. That's my what I want.
So your
Yeah.
grandfather, so brave,
Yeah.
was actually who he is in the world and surrounded himself with community.
Yeah.
So he had it all figured out.
Yeah. Literally. And yeah, I remember we would like go, like he would take us to like build a ranch or something. And while we were there, like eating lunch, he would like, explain to us like the leaves and like, tie things into like, spiritual, the physical into the spiritual. It was a crazy, now that I think back on it, it was kind of crazy.
And you are a vascular surgeon with this background where you have a spiritual connection. Did you ever fight that? Did you ever feel like they were not compatible, or do you feel like they belong together?
Well, when I was young, um, like before before residency, I was a pure atheist. I did not. I thought everything was material. I actually, yeah, didn't think. And then in residency, like when I did residency in North Philadelphia, so it was like,
Wait, which I was at Temple.
no, I was at Temple.
Wait, are you
What
kidding
the
me?
hell?
Oh no, were you like the fellow when I was in medical school?
I was no, I was I did general
The
surgery.
resident.
Yeah, from 2009 I did 2 years of research, so I left 2016.
I was in medical school until 2015, 2011 to 2015.
No way.
So, but this is synchronicity as well. Like
Yeah.
life just keeps like weaving people back, and even if we didn't know
That's
each other, it's funny
crazy.
that you overlap in that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know all the people that I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So at Temple, Temple, so
Yeah.
like there's so many, especially young people die
Yeah, it's a
that
rough population.
you're in the veil. You're in between one world and another. And when you're there, like, we would see on a really busy day, we would see 25 people shot,
Yeah,
25, two or three of those would die. Um, when you're in that in between life and death so much, you see some weird shit. You see some really, and then you see some weird shit really consistently. Like every Saturday, you're on call for like 3 months in trauma. You see some weird shit. And you're like, okay, this can't all be coincidence.
there is no coincidence. I love that that came from clinical work for you because it did for me as well, where I started getting dreams that were premonitions, and I didn't believe in any of this stuff. I thought it was like completely out there, like everything is science, everything is like solid material world.
Yeah.
And then I had enough experiences where I was just like, I can't explain it.
Yeah.
Like I literally cannot explain it. And it has, I mean, it can't just be random.
Yeah. It can't. Yeah, I remember, and it happened to me super quick. Like I was at Jeans. So Jeans is this hospital is that New Jersey? No, that's Pennsylvania.
This one's still in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's like the smaller, or it's not a smaller hospital, but it's in the community more.
Yeah, exactly. And when we were there as interns, they would leave us alone.
Yeah.
So it was like a 200 bed hospital, probably by yourself. So when we signed out, I would just do rounds. And remember, for some reason, I always started at the top and went to the bottom. And there was this sick young guy, had graft versus host disease after a transplant and had all this pulmonary fibrosis. And they had taken him to do a VAT, and he was just sick. He was like probably 30s or something. And I remember getting the sign out, and I was like, oh, fuck. I don't want to fuck it up, right? So I go do rounds, and then when I come down to his room, I go all the vitals, I talk to the nurse, and then I just like stand by the room, just like thinking, man, like this guy's not much older than I am. I think he was about to get married or had recently gotten married. And I was just thinking, like, this can happen to anyone. I just did these things in life. Like, why is that happening to him and not to me? Blah, blah, blah. And then in the background, I hear the pulse oximetry. And to anyone that doesn't know, when the oxygen goes down, then the pitch changes. And I start noticing a change in the pitch. And it goes like beep, boop, boop. And then I'm like, wait, what the fuck? So I look at it, and his oxygen level was super down. And the thing is, this is like my first month of residency. So this guy's having a pneumothorax.
And for context, like in your first month of residency, you're afraid to prescribe Tylenol. Like
You
you're
don't know
literally a baby
shit.
doctor.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, what the fuck? So I go and examine him, and he has a pneumothorax. And I put his stethoscope, and there's no breath sounds. And I would say most med students in the US haven't done a chest tube by themselves. But my med school was in Puerto Rico. So in Puerto Rico, they like let you do whatever the fuck, right? So, and I had done a couple chest tubes, and I'm like, I call my chief, and he's like 30 minutes away, and he's like, hey, this guy's dying, has a pneumothorax. And he's like, well, he needs a chest tube. Can you find someone that can do a chest tube? And I'm like, I can do a chest tube. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, I'm from Puerto Rico. I've done a bunch. And he's like, well, okay, just be careful. So I go in, I do a chest tube, the oxygen levels come back up. And all to say that if I, for some reason, had been there contemplating the existential bullshit of life and hadn't heard that pulse oximetry, that guy would have died.
Yeah. You were placed there and you were there for a reason.
For a reason. And then that happened hundreds of times over 5 years.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of times, shit like that happens. So then you're like, okay, there has to be something. It's too much stuff to be random.
Does that happen to you on the operating table too? Because it happens to me the most in the cath lab. I think that's when my logical thinking mind is focused on a task, and somehow I'm a more clear vessel to receive whatever it is from wherever it comes.
Yeah.
And I get so many intuitive insights about what to do next, what not to do. It just pops in, and it's like split second.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that probably happens to all of us or most of us. You know, if you do this is one of your gifts, and you think it's just, you don't think about it. We call it motor memory, but it's just like your whole mind, your body's just like knows what the fuck to do. And that's why I feel the happiest when I'm operating, when it flows state, because and it happens to, you see it, you saw it in your mentors, you see it in the people that you admire, that are your colleagues. They're just fucking know, they're in charge. Like there's no fucking around. And I feel the same way. I'm like, yeah, this is my gift. I'm like, I'm the shit, because my body just like knows what to do.
You trust it too.
100%.
And we don't teach that enough. Like, how do you trust that inner knowing, the intuition? And I feel like if we can train people to receive that intuition more clearly, then we've done a good job in medical education. But I think that's something that we need to change.
Well, there's how do you teach intuition?
I think it's about learning your cues. Like for some people, like for me, for instance, and I learned all this in the last 2 years. Like I'm a full-blown 4 times board certified cardiologist person in the world. And I went to this like spiritual integrative healer because I'm like, I don't know what is going on.
Yeah.
And she taught me how to listen to my body's yes and no. So yes for me is this warm, expansive feeling. It's like it starts in my chest and it goes outward. And a no for me is like this very quick contraction, like everything in my body just like holds on.
Yeah.
And I think I was getting those messages forever and I didn't learn how to listen to them.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's this like inner, it can be chaotic and it's just like this inner knowing, and, it happens like the most during like ruptured AAAs and stuff like that. It's just like, everyone's doing chaotic things around you and I like to stand at the foot and just like watch everyone. If I feel like something's wrong, you're just like, hey, don't do that like that, do it like that, very calmly. And then you start operating and everything's like calm. And it's like everything's chaotic around you, but you're like super calm.
You're plugged in.
You're plugged in. Yeah. And it goes your way or it doesn't. Doesn't mean that it's going to go your way every single time. But you just keep that and then you can listen to, and it's not like listening, it's just like,
But
and
you
when
have to
know,
learn to
you go.
trust because
Yeah.
sometimes you override that because somebody else says something or you're told you're not supposed to
Yes.
do this. And I think art is an important part of medicine. It's the medicine is science, but it's also so much of that art component. And maybe we can't give people their intuition, but I think we can give people the tools to help them hear it more clearly.
Yeah, I think medicine is and surgery and interventions are total art, okay? Because like every single instance is different. And science, the peer-reviewed journal, everything teaches you a general concept or general, but then you plug in everything else and you take that in when it's needed. And sometimes it's not fucking needed. And you leave it aside. So I think I think I'm a fucking artist.
You are an
I think
artist.
we all are.
We are artists.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like the most important thing that I've learned in the last several years has been when I'm rested, I'm regulated, I've had time to do the things that fill my cup. I show up with a heightened sense of intuition and I feel like I'm a better doctor.
Yeah.
And I think rest looks different for different people in medicine. I'm someone who knows my limits. Like my limits are very different from probably your limits. But I know if I'm going to show up at 100%, like I need this much sleep. I need this much time between patients. I need this much gap between seeing people because I tend to absorb everything in the room. And so I am a person who needs to go outside and put my feet in the grass. Like I need to ground again and I need to clear my energy field. I literally have a Palo Santo stick and I'm just like, woo. But not everyone needs that, but we're also different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sleep, I need exercise.
Yeah.
I need to run. I just need that just gets all that anxiety out of the way.
But imagine
Yeah.
spending decades where you don't even know what you need. And then you're like, how did this happen to my body? How did this happen to my life? And so many physicians end up in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting. But I think there's a lot of us having these conversations, not in public and being, or like, there's a lot of physicians going out there to do plant medicine and psychedelic retreats. We've had here the director of the Psychedelic Institute at UT, and you would be surprised how many people come to me and it's like, oh, I love that episode. It's like, yeah. Yeah,
But it's like,
I'm going to Costa
it's so
Rica.
taboo. Like,
I'm going to Costa Rica to do this retreat. Yeah. So there's a lot of us like understanding that yeah, we get to shift how we do things and things are coming to a head. But there's not a lot of people talking about it, and people do a lot of pretending that's weird, or like they haven't heard that shit before. But they have, and and they've experimented. So it's coming. We're not the only people talking about this. There are a lot of people that are doing very interesting things. It's just not out in the open.
and I think it's just like discernment, like learning what you really need for yourself and following that thing without the judgment, without all the like extra layers attached to it. And just because it worked for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for you. We're all so different. And so I think like just come back to who you are in medicine everywhere. Like I just feel like if we could just be who we are and who we were meant to be in this world, that alone will shift how things are happening in the
Yeah.
world.
And take risks.
Take risks. Don't just stay in the comfortable space, right?
Take risks. I mean, it's difficult. I'm my fiance is pregnant, and I could see how when you have kids. And I've talked to a lot of friends that have kids, and I can see how it can be scary to take a risk when you have kids. Um, but if you don't have kids, take fucking risks. 100%. And even if you do, man, just listen to what your intuition is telling you. If you're miserable in a job and you're just saying, I'm gonna do this for 10 more years until my kids leave, like, I'm not in that position, but I would strongly consider you to think about that a lot, because I think you would be surprised if your intuition is telling you this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. I want to do something else. Just look for it. Just be open to it, because life will like present you opportunities. It will like show you the opportunity that it's not even like the farthest extreme of what you really want to do, but maybe like halfway that gets you there, or like something. Be open to it, because that, like, you get to trust your intuition. Like, you fucking know what's good for you, and you know what's not good for you. And what happens, I feel like, is that first life whispers, then it pushes, and then it punches you in the face.
I waited for the face punch, so
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with your advice.
It will punch you in the face until you like realize what's going on.
I love that so, so much. Like, just, I think that's everything. That's the big principle of life, and just trust in the flow of life. And in medicine, we're so calculated and measured, but I think there is so much value in deeper connection with self, deeper connection with everyone around us, just letting life happen without so much of that control and so much fear. And I think just say what you actually think and be who you actually
Exactly.
are.
Say what you think. Fuck it.
I like that you have this podcast. It's cool.
Yeah, you should come on more.
Thanks.
You are like a natural
Thank you.
podcaster, natural camera person. All right, with that, Priya, we'll close it out. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having
What's
me.
the name of your podcast?
So I have a podcast called Open Heart, and you guys can find us at Open Heart the Pod on all social medias, and we have a YouTube channel, and our website is www.openheartpodcast.com.
All right, and with us, follow Priya and check out what she's doing, and we'll see you in the next one. Vamos.
Bye.